All right, folks, welcome back. This is another love discussion here. I'm Jaha, and I'm here with Nyguel. He's actually a part of one-third parts of the Random Bull podcast. So if you guys want to take a second and check that out, I'll let him further explain what that is a little bit.
Yeah, like Random Bull show. Shout out Kiefer. Shout out Tyrick. I'm Nyguel, like you said, one-third. Go check it out, all streaming platforms.
Absolutely. And, today we want to switch it up a little bit, kind of take this conversation off topic and just talk. So, we know there's a lot going on in the world. This past week especially, there's a whole bunch of controversy, a whole bunch of stuff. Yep. A lot of people are upset. What we're trying to do with love is, with all of that happening, we're just trying to figure out a way to, as people and I guess as a community, just go out in the world and kind of make changes so that those things don't happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, with everything going, I feel it's just like there's just so much division, and that kind of feeds into the stuff that transpired this past week, and it's just so much. Everybody's split. Everybody's tribal. It's so tribal.
Absolutely, and I think that's almost human nature. We almost want to be separated in a way, even though we also want to be included. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's hard to kind of break that, but there's certain things that I think get in the way of us kind of getting out of those mindsets and stuff like that. Naturally, you have the division that you're talking about. You see it online. You see it everywhere. It's so ingrained in our day-to-day lives that we might not even notice this division. And with that, we can talk about it. There was a verdict. There, things happen, and a lot of people are upset about it. And I don't want to talk on the topic specifically because we all know what happened.
Yeah.
But I think the people are unsettled because things weren't justified. There's something was decided upon that still does not satisfy people as a whole, and I think that in turn leads to maybe feeling downtrodden. People feel like they're misrepresented, and that's kind of a perpetual thought in our society. And I think with that, it's almost like purposely, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it definitely has that type of feeling, like it's done, like it's intentional. It's like a slap in the face, like we truly don't care about you guys. And that's how everything comes across with every verdict that ends up like this, where, it's a slap on the wrist, and maybe a couple months in jail here and there, it's never nothing serious. It's never nothing that's serious that they give to us when we go out and we do something like that.
Absolutely. And it's disproportionate.
Exactly.
Yep. And that further fuels the fire, I think. It might not be intentional. It might not be the way we perceive it, but you have to think about a group of people who are already extremely angry, upset about things that are happening, and then you're almost solidifying the thought that we already have within our minds that, this is not going to change. You know what I mean? No matter what is being done, it's cut and dry right here. The court system decided something that isn't helpful for all of us.
No, definitely not. And it's almost like it's not gonna change. But then on the flip side, no, they don't want it to change. They're not trying to change it at all. It's not like a situation where it can't be changed because it's too tough. It can be fixed. But it's the effort, and if anyone at that high level or those higher levels are ever going to address those and really act like they're, address the problems and stop sweeping it under the rug, acting like it doesn't exist.
Right. And I think with that, it's like, it's almost not lucrative to change it. Right now, it's more beneficial to have the issues, to have people against each other, because you're making money off of it. You got people watching TV, you got people upset out in the street talking about it. So it's more beneficial to the people who are getting the money in their pockets rather than to make it better for everybody. No, let's keep people against each other. And you can even see it. It's the way the media portrays things. It's the way even news articles about what has already happened. It's how they're putting it out, because that's going to get you to think a certain way and further progress in a way that we just are against each other for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, this past week, I've been off social media, because I know there's times in my own life where I'm just like, I just want to step away. Right. But then this happened like the day after I decided to. So I was like, it's like timing. Like, it's almost like God told me step away, just because I hate when I go on there. It's just so much division, because it's like We got people, you know, we went to the same school.
Exactly.
So we got people who we were sitting in class with, people that we were hanging out with who would see us in the hallway and shake our hands and say what's up, but they're on the other side telling us that
Right.
the
You would've
feelings
never
that
known, right.
telling us the feelings that we feel aren't valid or we should be, and it's just like, man, it blows my mind.
It puts things into perspective, for one. It obviously makes things clear for us, which, I mean, you kind of already could have assumed. You know, we grew up in the suburbs and, you know, one of very few black folk in the school. So, you know, there's already that, but now it's almost made clear by what's going on. And I think the climate that we have right now, it's cool to promote your negative views on the world.
Yeah.
Like you're supported by those now because you have so many people online thinking the same thing.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, now I can say whatever I want to say and be free in that. But, you know, like, you're right. I wish I could like come off of social media, but I don't, you know, I don't.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But like, to see how things come down my feed all of a sudden, and I'm gonna talk about, like, I had a conversation with a young lady online that I normally don't get involved in politics. I normally don't get involved in anything that's gonna show you my opinions. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want you to do that. So, but you know, I was reading this thing. Obviously, it was after everything was settled, and it was pretty much alluding to a scenario where it was said something about, like, okay, if you had a 19-year-old pregnant girl in a bank and someone comes in and starts shooting up the bank, are you going to be mad at the cop for accidentally killing her in the midst of trying to get the guy who was shooting, or are you going to be mad at the guy who started shooting? In my mind, I'm like, that's kind of irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're trying to put 1 and 3 together to make 4. Like, well, wow. That made 4, but that's not what I meant. But you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, but you're trying to put 2 irrelevant things together to justify your position on the world. And so, you know, I read through a few of the comments, and then nothing about race was ever mentioned. Nothing even about the situation itself was mentioned. But as you go down, you see certain comments about those people. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, now I have to say something. So I'm like, okay. At the end of the day, it's not you. First of all, it's an irrelevant topic. But secondly, if you're looking at it as you put it, you're going to be mad at both people because they're shooting up a bank and you're standing in the bank. So no, it's not about the cop. It's not about the person. You're just going to be mad at both people. And then in turn, if that girl dies, you just murdered a girl. That's cut and dry. I don't see how you see it another way. But like, it opens the floor for debate, 1. And 2, I think a lot of people are so close-minded that, okay, they're going to hear something, they're going to see something, you go and talk to them about that one thing one time, and that's as far as it goes. Once you bring up another perspective, they can't go any further because they're influenced by the media. Yeah,
it's like everybody only wants to deal with people who confirm their opinions, confirm their biases, and just agree with everything they say. Because once you do go against a person, even if it's something light, once you do disagree with someone, it's like the end of the world for most people. Like, because they don't know how to process. Because really, that's what I feel like a lot of these problems stem from. Because nobody wants to accept, or not even really, you don't even have to accept it, it's nobody wants to just acknowledge the opinions from the other side, because once you acknowledge them, then you can kind of start understanding them and process them, and then you take your opinions and you can mix them with those and you formulate a new one, and that's really where that, you know, that's where we move understanding forward. Exactly. Absolutely. That's the path of moving forward and understanding with each other.
And it's not about agreeing. It's not about that. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with you. And this is something we talked about in a previous discussion. At the end of the day, it's all about whether we can collaborate, because you're different from me, even though we might have similarities. How can we as 2 people move forward so that your worldview and my worldview works for all of us, right? And right now, I don't think that is important for our society, because for people to want to collaborate and work together, that's like against who we are as a society. You know what I'm saying? We've never been a collaborative people. From the beginning, the inception of America, we're coming from a place where we're trying to get away from other people because we don't want to collaborate. They don't agree with us. So, okay, now I'm over here, I'm gonna start a whole new country. You feel me? So now it's like that idea doesn't even register with us. So to now try to promote, hey, you know, it's not about what you think specifically, and you can hold your opinions, but please listen to me and now understand where I'm coming from, because yeah, you can have your opinions and they might be justified and valid, but me too, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And that's just from my perspective.
Exactly. It's like everybody just wants to feel heard. Everybody wants to feel like what they say, what they're feeling is cared about from someone else. And when you feel a certain way and people are like, nah, you shouldn't feel like that at all. Like,
why?
Yeah, like, especially like not even like to get specific on stuff when people are like, oh, you're still mad about slavery. It's like, how come on.
Right.
Because
you don't have a place to speak from on something like that. I get it, because you don't know, and then that goes back, I guess that ties in some ignorance, you know what I'm saying? So like
a lot of it.
100%. But now, like, I can completely agree with that point, but now with trying to be, I guess, as an individual, progressive, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna hear. I might not agree with you. Yeah, I'm still angry. It happened. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that long ago. But I'm trying to understand why you seem to think that I'm not justified in feeling why I feel, or how I feel, rather. You know what I'm saying? I want to understand what your perspective is and why it is the way it is and where you came. You know what I want to understand everything about you, so that now, okay, I understand where this came from. I can't necessarily be mad at it because it's coming from a place that feels justified, but I want to know why you feel that way. And now listen to me, and now we're gonna put those things together and move
because you're right, because a lot of those people, they do speak from a place of ignorance where they don't really know
anything,
like they don't know the other side of it. You know, they only hear one story, the one side of the story, and that's all they can base all their opinions off of. So I mean, those people, they need to be taught, but they also need to be willing to learn. And that's where a lot of people, where a lot of people stop. Like they're not willing to accept or willing to learn the other side, because they only want to know their story.
Promote your own mindset. And I think that just ties into any part of human life. You have to be open enough to absorb things. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are closed off, especially, I mean, this is capital region of New York, you know what I mean? There's a lot of closed-minded individuals that may hold a little weight, and in that just completely promotes this idea that we don't have to agree with you or even listen to you because I'm justified and supported by all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to explain, but like geographically you can find support. Obviously you can do it as north and south, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you hold a certain view, you might want to live in the north as opposed to the south, and vice versa, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, you can always find someone who's willing to support you, but that is almost a detriment, because that doesn't necessarily mean you're right. That just means you have a couple people who are thinking similar ideas, you know? So like, we have to, figure out what's right and wrong, and I don't think that's as cut and dry as we think.
Yeah, it's definitely not black and white.
No, it's not. So we have to kind of figure out there are right ways, I guess, or like morally right ways to go about life. That's just what's written on your heart at birth. Morals is just what it is, you know what I'm saying? So there's certain ways to go about life that just make sense and are just. I think that ties everything back to what we're experiencing right now. It comes down to being just, and I think respect. And understanding, of course, like you were saying before.
I mean, it's a respect of everything, really. A respect of, you know, your views, your opinions, your lifestyle, your culture, But people don't want to respect the stuff. That's just, people lack respect.
Because it's foreign. That's the thing. In order to respect and understand, you have to take time and become a student almost. You know what I mean? You have to observe. You have to grow with that person you're trying to learn about, and that takes a little bit. You know what I mean? That's effort. But that's all it is. If you're not willing to put in the effort, we're never gonna, you know, progress as a society, because it only takes one person to be like, nah, I'm not with that. You know what I mean? I don't agree with you. I'm not gonna hear what you have to say, but I'm gonna keep promoting my negativity. It only takes one person to listen to you to then say that to the next and the next, and then you keep perpetuating these negative thoughts. I mean, you know, tying it back to like maybe childhood, you know what I'm saying? Like I've experienced some things, and early on, it was easy for me to say, I can't blame the child here, because this is not their thought. You're 10 years old talking to me this way, and I know it didn't come from you. I know it came from where you came from, your parents, maybe even your grandparents. So I can't be mad at you. I want to know where you came from though, you know? And then going further, now I'm an adult, and it's like, I'd see that so much. And we're adults now. It's like, at some point you have to start thinking for yourself. And that's the hard part. A lot of people just don't take the time to think for themselves. You know?
Everybody. It's so crazy. Because everybody's like regurgitating shit that they were told.
Absolutely.
And and it's like if someone wants to debate with you and they're just regurgitating some info,
You
and
can
then
almost tell those people.
you could call them out, and then
right.
they're like stuck. Well, this person said, but what are you saying? Though?
Right.
What do you think about this?
That's all I care about right now. I want to know what your perspective is. I don't care about the next person because I already saw that. You know what I mean? I already understand that. I want to know. I'm talking to you right now. Give me your perspective. It can be based on something else, but I want to know who you are and why you think the way you do. And that's just it. We have to start changing our mindset, changing our frame of thought to where it's not about you individually all the time. It's about you with somebody else.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
I speak out a lot, like when I see people and they walk through life where they feel that everybody should be adjusting to them to make them comfortable. And I say it all the time, like, you're not the center of the universe and you never will be. You can't expect people to adjust to make you comfortable. You got to adjust to the world.
Absolutely.
That's the only way you're going to be able to get through life and get through life without driving yourself crazy, because in that, you're not going to have no expectations of how people should treat you.
Exactly.
You'll be ready for however, if they're nice to you, if they're mean to you, it doesn't matter. You're ready for it.
You have to humble yourself, I think, to a point.
Yeah.
You know, we're so small. It doesn't matter how big and how famous or how well known you become as a person. It still doesn't matter. You're one of billions. You know what I mean? So, like, take that within yourself, humble yourself, and know that I'm really not that important. You know, maybe what I say feels important to me. Maybe what I think feels important to me. But I'm just another drop in the bucket.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Like
So once you can gain
air.
that perspective, exactly. I'm just a speck of dust. You know, there's things so much bigger than me. So how can I contribute to those bigger things? How can I help those bigger things? How I'm looking at it right now with love and the community that we have right now, we're trying to make something better for the next generations and so on and so forth, which everyone's trying to do, but no one's been able to figure it out. So with this, it's almost in a way that may not have been done fully before, but it's just a new approach to something that's already been trying to be done for such a long time.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, honestly, because it starts with a conversation. It starts with coming to the table and just discussing. You have your views, they got their views, lay them out, and then we can discuss it and talk about it. And because it's like, you never know. Once you start really talking with someone, you will always find something that you agree on, something that you have in common, something that you can meet on middle ground with. And from that's when the guard starts to come down and start realizing, like, oh, okay,
They're
we
kind
like
of similar.
Yeah, we like the same stuff. They're kind of cool. They were funny when they said this. There was, I like this about them.
But it starts with that conversation.
That's a
and
fact.
going back to the ignorance that we were talking about, it's like some people just really don't know. So they're talking from a place that they don't know. If you don't take the time to just sit down with somebody, you're also doing a disservice. Because now that's a whole half a perspective that they don't ever get because you're the only person who really offer that. You know what I mean? So like, it comes from both sides. We have to be willing to sit down with people we might not normally want to sit down with and just talk and allow people to hear what we have to say. Doesn't matter who you are, black, white, doesn't matter. Just offer your side, and then I will offer my side, and we can come together and make an agreement, or at least something where we can collaborate.
No, that's it. Honestly, that's what I feel. As soon as that can happen from both sides, all the little different parties and stuff, everybody just come together and find that middle spot, that middle ground where everybody agrees. And then you can start laying your little, well, I want to add this into it to try to get this fixed. And then, we can do that because...
But you just got to start it. I think it's hard for people to want to start because you always have that idea, well, I'm just one person. Just like we were just saying, yeah, you are just one person. But, if people are not willing to put forth the effort, there will always be one person who is not helping the greater cause. And we just have to kind of put our pride aside, put our personal views aside, and just do something that we know if the effort is there, it'll change something. We don't know what the outcome is going to be yet, but at least do something to get us there positively.
Yeah. I remember there was a quote I read a long time ago. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it was something to the fact of, like, when one person's back stiffens up, everybody else stands up and they get right too. So, like, it does take that one person, because that one person will spark. And I mean, this is a negative example, but you look at Hitler. It took one person, he sparked millions, right, to get behind his cause. So it's like, you could take that type of power and that type of person that can captivate like that and put it onto a positive mission.
Right. then
so
there's
much
no
stuff-
stopping it. You know
so
what
much
I mean?
stuff can be
But we
fixed.
need more. I think one, we need more leaders. I think we live in a world where there's a lot of followers. People will go off of. I mean, it's almost kind of forced because you have social media, you have news articles that are true and not true, and you don't know how to decipher stuff. You
it's
know
the
what I'm saying?
worst.
So you have to kind of do extra and put more effort. So at the end of the day, I think human beings can be lazy. And when you are making things easy and putting certain things in front of people's faces, it's going to be natural that they're going to listen to those things. But we need to be more apt to like just taking a step back and doing for ourselves and researching for ourselves, because at the end of the day, we don't know what's all. It's a bunch of fluff. You know what I'm saying? If you don't take the time to reject propaganda, you're just falling in line, if you will. You know?
Yeah. I mean, the news is definitely filled with it's truths and lies, but it's just so hard to figure out what's which because it all looks the same. It's all presented the same. They all have, when they tell the story, they all have the same serious face to give you to make you believe what they're saying. Like, it's so hard. That's why I mean I try not to watch the news too heavy. Just like, you know, breaking news type stuff, like someone gets shot somewhere. I want to know just to try to avoid that area for a little while. But like just like world news, I try to, because there's so much nonsense. There's so much behind the scenes stuff going on.
And they almost put in your face what you should think is important or what is actual news.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, I mean, not to get too far off topic, but it's like it's almost manipulating human trust. We trust people who are in positions that are giving us news, or even in positions that are law enforcement, or you know what I'm saying? So there's all these different things that as human beings we're forced to trust them, and you are literally lying to our faces. And what do we do now? You know, we've trusted you for so long, and now it's almost clear that okay, this news channel isn't saying the same stuff as this news channel. How do I separate the two? Obviously they're trying to say the same thing, but to gear it towards different people. So if you can just be conscious of those things that are trying to manipulate you, then I think that's a way we can step forward. But it's all about being conscious in this world.
Yeah, people gotta wake up. But some people claim they've waken up. They're too awake. Sometimes you gotta put them down a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? But it's silly because some people, I call it the internet intellect, where they'll act a certain way online and they'll, you know, seem super smart, use big words and whatever, but like you question one part of that and now there's nothing to back it up because I'm just kind of pretending, you know what I mean? I'm pretending online to look a certain way, and there's too many people like that, which almost, it sucks because like they can lead. Obviously, they're being listened to, but those aren't the people that you want to be listening to because they're just spewing out the shit that we don't need anymore.
They're like false prophets, really, at that point, because they have the following, but they're not leading you to a good place because in reality, they're not what they're portraying.
Right. Yeah. It's the idea behind what the internet allows you to do. It allows you to put forth what you want people to see and what you want people to think about yourself. But at the end of the day, if you don't know yourself, that's just bullshit. You know, like that's just a bunch of fake. But
you're playing a character at that point.
You're playing a character, and you're playing a character for the people who are running the show, if you will.
And then the people like that you play this character for, at the end of the day, they don't even care about you. They don't care. Like if you fall on hard times, they're not extending their hand. They don't care. All they care about is the show that you're putting on for them. And so when the season's over, they go find a new show to watch.
Exactly. It's not about your personal well-being. It's not. At the end of the day, you're another number and you're another cog in a machine.
Exactly.
So what you can do to benefit yourself, and I guess benefit all of us, because we're obviously not in the positions of power where we can control stuff. So the best way we can do that is to have these conversations and to sit here and talk about the things that nobody's talking about or almost are afraid to talk about, because, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that nobody, you know, you're almost treading and walking on eggshells because you don't want to offend people and you don't want to hurt people's feelings. But at the end of the day, you might have to hurt some feelings to say what needs to be said. You might have to offend some people to say what needs to be heard. You know, so like it's not about protecting people anymore, I guess. Like to a point, it's not about protecting your emotions or your personal values. It's about breaking those and coming to, I guess, a universal consensus where we can all kind of come to common plane, not an agreement, a
yeah.
common plane, so that now, okay, I might not agree, but let's walk together. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Let's walk together. So now it's not about us against them. It's just us, you know?
Everybody's too focused on, I feel, living in that comfort zone. Nobody, they don't want to break that. But I mean, once you come out your comfort zone, you break out that box, that's where you grow. That's where the growth is, because that's when you're tested, that uncertainty. You know, you're going into, you know, you're walking into the wilderness, not knowing what's on the other side, but that's when you come out with the lion on your back, like they say, right?
Exactly,
Wearing
exactly.
wearing
But you
the
got to
fur,
be
like-
willing to take the risk. You got to be willing to put yourself out there, and knowing that you might be putting yourself in danger, whatever it is. You know, I don't want to be so dire and dark, but you know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to take the step or the leap in order to grow. And
It's like big risk, big reward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then in terms of human beings, that's a huge reward. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's our future here. So, I mean, Nyguel, I appreciate you
Hell
coming
yeah,
on,
man.
and thank
It's
you.
such a pleasure. I
Absolutely.
enjoyed it
Check
for
out the Random Bull Show.
Random Bull Show.
Yep. And yeah, we'll do this again.
Hell yeah,
And that's a wrap. Awesome. Thank you, bro.
Hell yeah, yo, that was a pleasure.
Yes,
This was
I think
great.
that was a good one.
Hell yeah.